Welcome to the Big Roofs podcast, the podcast where we talk to successful roofing contractors and industry leaders about how you can build a bigger, better, and more profitable roofing business. Today's guest is Brian Huff, who I've had the pleasure of working with quite a bit over the last 6 months, dialing in his ProLine account. So I'm super excited to hear your story. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. So let's start with I'm curious. This is one of the my favorite questions. Is just how did you end up in roofing? Can you walk us through that journey? What brought you to roofing?
Um, Joined the Army right out of high school, was in there for 3 years, got out, got a degree in audio engineering. Um, then I forgot to go to medical school. And so I have to go back into construction because the audio engineering thing didn't work out. But um, audio engineering was a passion of mine. And then I really learned about it and the lifestyle. And it's kind of like you're just flying solo your whole life, just kind of zipping around. And so I wanted to start a family and just a stable, grounded place. So I started a family and got back into construction because that's what uh, my whole family had done, and that's where I grew up around as tradesmen. And my dad's a carpenter and a blacksmith, so I just grew up with a hammer in my hand, basically. So it was kind of like instinctual to go back into that after some plans fell through or just didn't work out. So I started a handyman, and then I started selling windows and doors at Home Depot and was selling like takeoffs for homes for like 80, 90, $100,000 worth of windows. And was making like $11 an hour. And I was like, this is not right. Something screwy here. So I started my own thing and just kind of went from there. And then got laid off during the 2008 downturn and looked around for a job and obviously had a family I was starting, so I had to find something quick. And of course, as we all did, looked in at Craigslist for jobs and found one of those typical make $150,000, selling roofs. I was like, I know how to build a roof. That's pretty easy. So went from there and worked for a national company here in Denver for a couple years, and then transitioned roles through other companies all the way up to general manager for a national roofing company. Opened a branch for them up here, and then COVID hit and shut everything down. And then I said, okay, my turn. The next step is to start my own company because I've done everything in a roofing company, every role that you would ever need to know how to start your own. So I just did that and took it from there. But in the beginning, it was pretty scary. And then my first roof was like a 44 square roof. My girlfriend sent over one of her clients, and they're like, "Yeah, come to our roof." I was like, "Okay, nice and easy, huh?" And I get there, I'm like, "Oh my God, I have no idea." So I just did what I knew how to do. I got an equal view and started really small and just tried to kind of creep into the business that way. But I didn't like go go crazy with buying all the tech. Because like back then, it wasn't a whole lot of tech you could buy. It was like you could get an Eagle View, you could use AccuLynx, and back then AccuLynx was like, it's okay, but there's so many programs trying to like shove each other out of the way. So I kind of like I got the CRM that I wanted to get, which was Builder Trend, and that was really expensive, but it was like really customer facing, which is what I thought would make me different than other roofing teams and companies. Was like, we're just going to show up into your roof, and they're like, I had no idea you're even coming. But using Builder Trend, the way that's geared towards the customer is they get exposure to everything on their own, basically like a website for their own stuff, and there's an app and stuff they can access. You don't have to come to me for questions, but I can push everything through. And so that was it for a while, my how I ran everything. But the Builder Trend software I was only using like maybe 30% of it. The rest of it was like you could put all these options for like appliances and flooring. It was just like a home builder CRM. So I dropped that and um, just kind of really focusing on what do I really need to spend money on per month? Like, what's my breaking point, and where do I break even and really drop that number down so I can really start moving this thing a little faster? Because it was kind of like a roof a month maybe, and that was good, but I really learned a lot about cash flow and what do I really need to spend money on? What's the vanity part of this that I could just get rid of and really get back to the basics and just doing a good job, making a profit, and then keep going to the next job. So, um, but I really pay attention to the mathematics of it all because it's really, if you don't know that, you're like, we'll be fine. You just keep saying that. It's just not going to work out. And I've seen other companies do that, and you just learn from their mistakes, obviously, and you really pay attention. But I started a Excel spreadsheet, and pretty much all I had to enter in was the EcoView numbers on the first page and just punched everything through. And the bottom right was the yellow number was here's your profit for this job, and then below that was your percentage. And so it was like if I switched out materials or the scope of work changed, it was really, really easy to just punch that in. So from the beginning, I was just kind of like a little overwhelmed with how much the roofing industry itself has grown on the back end. Um, and then I kind of like took a step back and said, wait a minute, this is a little too much. Let's revamp things and really concentrate on making the money, and then we can get moving forward that way. But yeah, long story short, I guess. Huh?
Oh, that's awesome. There's a lot there that I'd love to dive into throughout that whole story.
Mhm.
Um, one of my first questions, I'm just curious. Are we talking about audio visual? Are you talking about like for like bands or like events, or what exactly did that entail?
Yeah, so I'm a drummer, and um, I wanted to be a session drummer, like all the great drummers that you never hear of, but they're on every record that you hear. So I think to help facilitate that, I wanted to get a degree in audio engineering to really understand the studio engineering part of that and how I can just be a better drummer, just understanding that environment I'd be in. So that was like recording musicians in a studio or doing live shows or um, t audio for television. It was kind of like an all-encompassing degree. It was pretty cool, but yeah, it just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to as far as a career. But I still play drums and love audio and mess around with that stuff too.
More of like a hobby now than anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's an
that's super
expensive
cool
hobby,
though.
but
Yeah,
um,
the best
yeah,
ones always are.
yeah,
Yeah.
Do you
Um,
watch Drumeo on YouTube?
all the time.
It's so funny you say that you're a drummer. I'm like, I didn't know that about you, and that's awesome. And I
Yeah,
have been watching Drumeo for the past like week, where
there's
Chad Smith will, specifically the clips on YouTube where they'll take a famous drummer from a famous band, and they'll be like, "Hey, have you heard the song before?" And they're like, "No, I've never heard the song before," and they really haven't. And
mhm.
then they'll just listen to the track without percussion, any drums at all,
Yeah,
they have to fill in it's really, really amazing to
yeah,
see just the highest level of a master of an instrument, and they're
mhm.
just the way they fill it in, and they build, and sometimes they'll play it like so crazily accurate to what the original was, and then have their own personality built in. But I've been addicted to that. That's so funny you say that, because I've been watching that for like 4 or
Yeah.
5 days.
They just did one for like a country drummer, and they had him sit down and listen to a heavy metal song.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
yeah, it was awesome. It's a great show. It's a great premise to, I mean, get you to watch it. It's so entertaining
Yep.
because there's like, that was the biggest thing when getting my degree and going to school was all my teachers they're just like, the best part of this job is just sitting back and watching the talent do their thing. And you can just drop your jaw every time because it was just amazing. But there's some stories that I heard that are just nuts. But anyway, that's another podcast.
we'll have to do another one just for
Yeah.
that. Um, I'm okay. So I want to take even one more step back. So first of all, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And on coming out of high school, so going into the military, like what, um, kind of walk me through that. You know, what you said your background was construction on the family side. what drew you to the military? Was it something you're passionate about? Was it sort of like you felt like you didn't have other options, or what was the draw?
I was just really into the outdoors and camping and rock climbing and stuff through high school. Played a lot of sports, so like I would leave the house for days because the property we lived on, we had so much property behind us, and I would just go camping for days. I'd like, see you Monday and leave like Friday morning or something. So
Mm,
it was like the sense of adventure and just the risk taking and just relying on yourself and self-confidence. And it just really was a cool, um, I guess, hobby. But then it was like, I could just go get paid to do this. That's really cool. So the town I grew up in, I ended up graduating high school and was a place called Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And if you've ever heard of it, it's where um, like the movie Kingpin was recorded and The Witness with what's his name? The guy from Star Wars. It's an Amish town, and I'm not Amish. And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I was like, I actually signed my enlistment contract when I was 17. My parents had to co-sign for me. They're like, are you sure you want to do this, Brian? I'm like, yeah. So like a month after I graduated high school, I shipped out to Fort Benning, Georgia.
nice.
Infantry school, airborne school, and then went up to Anchorage, Alaska, Fort Richardson for my time up there. So basically jumped out of airplanes, ran around in the snow with a machine gun for a couple of years, protect the pipeline.
Nice. That's good. Was that prior? What was the time? Was that prior to like the Iraq War, or was that
Yeah, no, that was
right
I
after?
joined in 99. So I was supposed
Okay.
to get out right before 9/11 happened.
Mm,
But I was like 6 months from getting out and that happened. We were actually
mm,
preparing to go in the woods for a month and just play army. And they came into the barracks. Because Anchorage time is like 5 hours behind New York time. So this was like 3 in the morning when everything started going down. And like, everyone, get down here, look at the television. We're going, we're going. We're like, what are you talking about? And then by the time I saw the TV, the second plane hit, and just like, oh my God, this
mm.
is nuts. So yeah,
That is
pretty
nuts.
crazy.
Yeah, that's. I feel like it's kind of it's weird talking to people that are just maybe 5 years. I think it's about 5 to 7 years younger than me, and I feel
Yeah,
that's the line where like they don't remember what they were
yeah,
doing, and then
yep.
everyone older than that, it's like you remember exactly what you were doing when
Yeah,
you
I
saw
have
that.
the Time magazine the next day when they showed how the pictures. I have that like sealed away for, you know, for remembrance of that day. It's
Yeah.
pretty intense.
Were you, was there a point there where you thought you were going to get sent off, like reassigned, like redeployed out to the Middle East or,
I think at the time they knew who was doing it, but they weren't quite sure how to, they were still scrambling because they didn't, it wasn't
yeah,
like a plan in place. But there's units that they sent before us. Like we were like, I don't know how many in line behind other units. Because New York has 10th Mountain Division. Of course, there's the 82nd Airborne and all those guys. And so, but we are Arctic. Afghanistan can be that type of climate where it's mountainous, snowy. Um, it's just kind of what we trained to do. So we were like, that sounds like us. We might go, but never ended up going. I
mm,
think a couple years later after I got out, some guys transitioned to other units and then they ended up going over, but I didn't do anything.
yeah,
It's very, very close though.
yeah, that makes sense. How many jumps did you have? Curiosity.
33.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
There were, I think, they try to do a jump every 3 months just so you can maintain hazard pay. And then you do some night jumps, then you do some like full battle rattle jumps, and then just a helmet and parachute jumps just to cycle you through, keep your practice up. But we jumped out of C-130 Hercules airplanes out the doors and then walked right out the back of the Chinooks too. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I I at one point I was pretty definitively going the military route, and for multiple different reasons decided it was not the right fit. I was doing Army RTC in college
Mhm.
for first 2 years of college. Um, and it was a very hard decision, like on which way I was going to go with it. But my second year was pretty close to doing airborne school, and I think it was at the time that I was reconsidering it, and I was like, I can go to airborne school, but I'm unsure of whether or not this is for me long term. But I really wanted to
Mhm.
go to airborne school. But my final decision was like, I don't want to I don't want to go to airborne school, and like that's expensive training. I felt guilty about like that's really expensive training, and I hadn't gone to any schools up to that point. I was like, I'm not going to do that if because at the time I was like about 80% sure that I was going to let go of my contract and not go that route.
Yeah.
But I have a bunch of friends that they went all the way through, and massive respect for everyone in the military.
Yeah.
So that has served. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Had
Um,
fun.
yeah, yeah, that's the part you're talking. You're like that's my language too. Is like out in the woods, the suck,
Yeah.
crawling through the mud. Like that's the part that just gets me excited. It was
Yeah.
that part was like that's the what drew me in.
Yeah. Basic training, there was a lot of guys that dropped out. They're like, oh, my wrist hurts. I'm like, really? Come on, pick it
Yeah,
up. Let's go. This is easy. And that was like my mentality through all my training was just keep going. And your mind will take over before your body will. Your body will keep going, but your mind tricks you into thinking that it won't. So if you master that part, you're going to be fine. And that's what I just focused on was just don't even look to the side. I mean, if somebody needs my help, of course I'm going to pick them up. But for me personally, it was just a drive to just keep going. Because the second you stop, your mind just it does this thing and it says, oh wait, I can stop. Oh, I'm just going to stop. And you're like, no, 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 I got to keep going. So mentally the whole time it was 15 weeks to do all that. And yeah, I just kept going and going. But I saw people drop out for like whatever reason. It's like, okay, get out of here. Get out of the way.
yeah, yeah. It's that mental strength.
Yeah.
The mental strength is. I mean, it serves you throughout your entire life.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so well, that's awesome. Let's so you transition to I guess probably GI Bill went to college. Is that and then
Yeah.
did the
Audio engineering
audiovisual
degree. That's what
audio
that paid for.
engineering
Yeah.
and then transition to you jumped into Home Depot. You said Home Depot was your first employer
Yeah. I actually got done graduation. They
or
tried to place me from the school. They tried to place me into a job.
yeah.
And a lot of it, when you come out, you're an intern, like the worst type of internship I've ever seen. Like Hard Rock Live down in Orlando, I was going to be an intern there. And I went and interviewed, walked the place. It was like phenomenal. It was like the best sound you could go hear a live show at. And I was like, so what does the internship look like? What's the time frame? They're like, well, you come here for about a year and then we'll see if we want to bring you on. I'm like, a year? Okay, what are the shifts? They're like, we'll just call you. And I'm like, you mean I have to be on call for a year and then you get to decide if you, I was like, whatever. Okay. And so it was like this unrealistic uh internship, a lot of places. And then they're like, do you want to go work at a church? They'll pay you. And I'm like, uh, no, thanks.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was basically like the only option to go get paid kind of like minimum wage. But it was like you only work on Sundays for about 2 hours and that's about it. And I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, that's limited for sure. So did you even go like end up getting a position doing that? Or
No,
do you
actually, I joined a band and started recording
oh
some
nice.
demos with them in Orlando, and it was at Transcontinental Studios. It's where Creed and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, they all recorded right down the hall. But the guy I hooked up with actually followed him into Guitar Center and watched him put the ad on the corkboard drummer wanted. And I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. So I just walked around. I literally followed them around Guitar Center and I looked at these guys and I'm like, I think I could probably get on with these guys because I was watching them like pick like the types of guitars they were picking up and stuff, and like the kind of car they drove was like a beater, and I'm like, oh, this is it. These guys are so passionate. They don't even care about what their car looks like. It's just like, okay, let's go. So we started recording, and the guy was an engineer at that studio, and so we were actually getting somewhere, but like personal issues with them, and me kind of just got in the way. So it didn't pan out, but almost happened.
Yeah. Did are there recordings out there online of you drumming? I mean, with them
Um,
or going back?
I don't know. I think they're still together. They're like a brother band, but they've cycled through so many people and songs. I think
Yeah.
probably what I've played has been played over or just whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're this like, a really niche down metal band. And I'm just like, they're never going to be played on the radio. They're not that kind of band, or you'd have to really dig to find them.
Yeah, it's a who was it? A friend of mine I think was telling me. Oh, yeah, it was Don he may come back and sell for us again. I think you met Don,
I
right?
did when I first came on. Yeah, he was the one who went through the demo with me.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Don is like really into hard metal. Like it's
Oh, is
his
he?
thing. So I feel like I
Shocking.
That's
guess
cool.
I don't know if that came up or
Shocking.
not.
Brown belt jiu-jitsu, psycho, amazing dude, loves metal.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. So
That's great.
he's actually trained to be a firefighter right now. So he
Oh,
decided
nice.
he wanted to be a firefighter. And we're gonna revisit it after he's done with fire school because firefighting is, or to be a firefighter, it depends on the county, but where he's going to be doing it, it's a 4 day a week, including weekends. So there's 3 to 4 days a week that you can do other projects or other work
Hmm.
if you want to. And so he may come back and sell during that time.
That's
Um,
cool.
so, but yeah. All right, cool. So let's start talking about let's move up here talking about um construction and roofing. What was the moment? What was the moment that you were like you're working for another roofing company and you're like, you know what? Why am I doing this? I need to start my own thing. Was there like a moment that you can remember when that you came to that realization?
Yeah, just about everybody I worked for, I would come to them with ideas like, I'm out in the field doing this. This isn't working. This, if we did this, this would work. And they would say, no, just keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Then another company, it was like, um, I opened a branch for a roofing company out of Texas, and they headhunted me up here because I was on like ZipRecruiter or something at the time. They're like, hey, we want you to open a branch up in Denver because we know there's a lot of hail. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay. And they primarily do like new construction, and they do like single family homes, residential, like also, but they primarily focus on new construction. Like they zip through that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so they did the whole 50,000 foot view thing from Austin, and this was like right before COVID came. And I'm like, hey, I need to do Facebook. I need to do marketing. And they're like, no, we got that down here. You just focus on doing that. I'm like, I don't think you guys understand that nobody knows who we are. It doesn't matter how long we've been in business. If there's no marketing, there's no visibility, if we're not showing up anywhere, then the best I can do is just knock doors, which is like, it's just going to be so. And the stigma up here in Denver is door knockers are storm chasers, and that means they're going to take your money and run. And so
Yeah.
that was like what they wanted me to do. And I'm like, that just, it doesn't work up here. We have to, there's other ways to do this.
So heavily
And
knocked.
oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
so they're like, just, no, you need to just go sell stuff. And I'm like, I'm telling you how I need to do it, but you're not letting me have the control. So it was like those moments where it's like, you guys can just, I mean, Texas is a different country compared to here. So it's like you guys can hire somebody else, or, I had two sales reps I was training at the time too, and teaching them how to door knock. And um, so it was kind of going well, but then COVID came and shut everything down. We literally couldn't leave our houses. And they're like, what do you mean you can't leave your house? I'm like, yeah, you guys are in Texas. You can do whatever you want, but we up here in Denver, we can't. So they're like, oh, okay. So they're just like, we're just going to let you go and keep one sales rep on and kind of float through this. I was like, good, see ya. So my girlfriend's like, you better start now or else you're going to regret it. So I was like, fine, let's go. She's like, once you start working for yourself, you will never work for somebody else again, because she has a couple of projects and companies that she's doing. So she's just telling me like, hey, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
You get your time back, you get the control, you get to do what you want to do, and there's nobody telling you what to do. So
That's awesome.
It's the disease that we have.
it
It's
is the
it's
disease.
the best disease. You
Yeah,
have to work way harder, but no one tells you what to do.
right.
The
And
best.
you can go on a boat in the morning and get sunburn and then show up and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, you're
My
right.
family
So
loved it. They're like,
Yeah, I'm sure.
so I won. All
That's
right,
cool.
the day has already been won.
Right.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. So this was your first time going into business for yourself. You hadn't ever done that in the past?
I had like a little handyman gig where I was working for a really wealthy guy. He had like a 14,000 square foot home or something. It was just huge. And I was just at his house every day for like 2 years straight. And then one day his wife was like, "Yeah, we're getting a divorce." I'm like, "There goes my job." So I'm out of here. She's like, "No, no, no, we'll see what's going on." I'm like, "No, it's okay. I'll take off." So, and then that wasn't like anything real. It was just like working by the hour and,
Yeah,
it was a cash job. So I wouldn't consider it
1099.
like a real company.
Yeah. Like an independent contractor type of a role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, let's talk about the new law that happened yesterday.
What law? There's no new law. What are you talking about?
That is so funny. AJ doesn't know. I
Oh
know, Brian,
no.
you know.
Oh, I
What is
Neil's
it?
blowing my
know.
phone up right now. They're like
All right.
freaking out about it.
Yeah.
We should
What
talk about that on this podcast right
let's
now.
talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. What is it?
All right. Adam Binsman made a video. The roof strategist made a video, and
Yeah.
everybody's sharing it to my phone. It's if you haven't watched it, go to the roof strategist on YouTube, watch it. It's about the new, and you're gonna have to correct me, Brian, because I actually haven't watched the whole thing, but people are asking me all these questions, like I haven't researched it enough. So essentially, we're recording this March 12th, March 11th. A new law was passed that essentially says, and I don't want to say this wrong, that if you have 1099 people, you're probably going to get looked at by the IRS, and they're probably going to try to convert them. If you're in the roofing space specifically, just the way that we work for the most part of the country, if someone is relying on you for 90% of their income, is what I understand, then they're going to be automatically considered W-2, and you're going to have to pay their taxes and all their payroll taxes, all that stuff. You have to pay it all. Then that goes, sales reps are typically not going to like this, because the thing we just talked about, having freedom, sales reps love that. Really great roofing sales reps love the freedom, love the flexibility, all that stuff. There's huge businesses built on this. This is, I'm in Georgia, so I'm thinking of like Perimeter Roofing, and they're buying all these other subsidiaries using private equity. Well, that is how they're all organized that way. So I can only imagine they're freaking out, because those reps rely 100% of their income on those entities. So the law is, that's the sales rep side. The other side is, do you have one crew that you use, which I have the majority of the time. Delaria Roofing was, and Peach State Roofing. Now I didn't know this law was going to happen, but now we actually split up our roofs quite a bit between both locations and multiple different crews. So we don't have a single crew that relies, like none of our crews actually rely 90% of their income on us at all. It's actually very spread out. So the crew part for us is not bad, but a lot of guys around the country have one crew that rely solely on that entity for their income, and they're going to get looked at the IRS too. And so you have sales reps freaking out, and now you have business owners freaking out because they have all these subcontractors doing their production part, and there really should be W-2 employees. So did I say it right, Brian? I think that's right.
Well, the biggest question is who carries the burden of proof to prove that? Who is it is it the subcontractor? They have to prove to the federal government that they are not relying on your roofing company for more than 90% of their income.
That is true. It is going to be very difficult to enforce still, but the law is in place, and some people are going to get made an example of. And it's going to be really unfortunate, because they're just, all they're going to do is put a person on them, like put an IRS agent on that company, figure it out, look at the records over the past few years. Hey, you've been paying You do $2 million and you pay the same vendor for almost every one of your roofs. Done. It's done. It's done. They're already done. They're gonna owe back taxes on those previous years, and that's gonna happen. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it eventually. Not like 2023, 22, but as we move forward in the years, they'll do 24, 25, 26, all those years. It'll take several years for this to get enforced, but I'm not worried about it because of the way that we're set up. And both I mean, I haven't actually talked to this with Clay and Cameron at all, but they're technically subcontract, like independent sales reps. They want that though. If this can affect us if they uh if they start to enforce this, because this is not what sales reps want. They want their independence. We do not regulate their schedule. They operate independently and they love that. If it all gets enforced though, we'll probably have to change eventually.
Yeah, it's definitely a shakeup with that. But I think I'm in the same position as you where I have just the way I'm structured too. It's obviously just me for now. And the crew I'm using, I mean, they've been with me for maybe I shouldn't say how long because
You
this is
shouldn't
being
say they've
recorded.
been with you for,
They've
about
they've been with me for more than one roof
30% of your
install.
jobs they've done for you for a little bit of time.
Right. But they work for new construction companies. They work for, I mean, they tell me all these companies they work for. They work literally 7 days a week.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay. And if I just pepper in my work into their schedule every now and then, it's like I'd love to use them. They're great. They're intuitive. They're receptive. They're great problem solvers, and they're just invaluable to me. And so I just show that. I mean, we were on a roof today, 12 squares, just knocked it out, brought them burritos and Gatorade, and just, hey man, thank you guys so much. And they're like, burritos. It's like that just energizes them to just work, because they just love working. They just love it. But yeah, that's where's the burden of proof lie in
Yeah,
that
and so
ball.
people like me and you, we unless you're doing mm, probably I mean, it's gonna have to be. This depends on the market you're in. I'm not going to say a revenue number, but if you're giving them 90% of their income, it's rough. There's not a lot of people that do that because our crew, the one that's been with us for the longest, we've never even come close to the majority of their actual income. Like, not even close. We're probably around, I don't know, 15 or 20% of their income.
Mhm.
And it keeps us really busy the same way. It keeps, like, they're very appreciative. We love the relationship that we have. There's no reason for us to have employees for the quantity of roofs that we're selling. Like, zero reason.
Yeah.
So
And in our
for most
market,
people, it won't affect most people. The production side, but the
right.
sales side, people don't understand the labor burden of payroll tax and
Yeah.
workers' comp they're having to pay for that. Like, the sales reps are going to have to get paid like significantly less money
Yes.
to make it worth it. Like, there's no way. There's literally the burden of that sales rep for the company is going to be between 45% and 60% more. Let's just say $100,000 of commission. It's going to cost the company around 45 to 60,000 extra dollars to keep that person on. At least that's just like a round number. Like, people don't realize that payroll cost is enormous. If you have to provide trucks for them, all the administration stuff,
Yeah.
and you're paying for all that, like, it could be double what
Yeah.
you have been used to paying that person. That the money that's leaving the entity of your business could be close to double by converting them from 1099 to W-2. It's a really, really big deal, and the sales reps will suffer because the
Right.
companies won't be able to be profitable, so they'll go out of business if they don't reduce that compensation plan in a very significant way.
And then where's the cost of the roof
Yeah.
go?
Yep.
Up.
And so then the customer loses too because
Mhm.
the cost of the roof goes higher. But even then, the company makes less profit, so that they're less viable. I talk about this a lot. If you don't make profit, you can't keep your promises. You can't keep your promises for your warranty for your homeowners, to your crews, to your suppliers. If you don't make enough profit, you will go out of business. And so everyone loses in this situation. Like, I don't really see there's definitely abuse that happens, but it's not in the benefit of all the parties involved.
Yeah, in our market, if you're not roofing, you're plowing. A lot of guys have plows on their trucks this time of year, or
Mhm.
they will do something, they'll go do like a Walmart parking lot or something, and they'll be doing that. So that's like how much percentage of their work is that they're diverting into earning on that rather than roofing. But yeah, it's a great conundrum you're kind of stuck in at the meantime until you really figure it out, or we get, cases where people are made an example of, and it's like, okay, this is how it's going to go next time, because the law is there, but until it's actually enforced and tried and every like the evidence and the data and all of that is actually submitted and reviewed, you kind of just don't know what's going to happen. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah. It's not, and there's so much. So like the beneficial ownership thing, I don't think it's a law. I think it was just sort of a mandate um by I can't remember, like the Treasury, I think. You guys know what I'm talking about, the beneficial ownership registrations for bank accounts for businesses.
Don't know.
No.
So this was about 3 or 4 months ago. And maybe I don't, maybe you guys haven't done it. But it's something you have to like go back now for. It's not for the bank account, it's for your business. If you have to register as an individual that you are the primary beneficial owner of the business. They're trying to avoid like shell companies. They're trying to get
Yeah.
transparency and get people to, because there's all these companies that have no actual people assigned to them. They're just
Right.
like owned by another company. So they're
Yeah.
they're trying to force all of those people to like claim ownership of those entities or let them dissolve. And so everyone's freaking out about it. But then like and don't make business decisions off what I'm about to say, because I don't 100% know that this is true. But I was just reading an article about how um, it was challenged and put on hold recently in some way. And so I feel like when there's this much, when there's a lot of uproar about something, it's like you got to kind of let it run its course and people figure it out, because it could very easily get challenged and redacted. If
Yeah.
there's, because it's like if there's a bunch of people angry about it, one side of the political spectrum will be like, oh, I'll help you guys out because I want your votes, right? So it's hard to say until you let it play its course a little bit.
Yeah. It's like from a business owner's standpoint, from our perspective, it's very frustrating because now it kind of scrambles all of our ideas and how everything is structured. But from like the political standpoint, it's like they have no idea what they're doing to us. It's very, why didn't you come talk to us first? That kind of feeling, because this
Yeah.
is
And
really going to
it's
screw
just
us up.
hurting the homeowner. The
Yeah.
homeowners that say, "Well, wait, you use subcontractors?" Like we had a homeowner get really mad at us the other day
Yeah.
um, because they thought that we had employees. We've never insinuated it. We not ever, never, never. We were very careful about that.
Yeah.
They don't realize how expensive their roof will be
Yeah.
if we had employees. Like there are people around. There's actually a company. I don't know if they're still in business. It's called Clean Cut Roofing. It's in Texas, and they brag about how they have employees. Same with Eustis Roofing in North Carolina. They're great companies. They're amazing. You have to be a pretty large company to make that work.
Yeah.
To be worth it.
There's no way around that. You cannot function. You don't have enough revenue and profit to actually generate and get discounts on insurance. Like just to insure a vehicle as an
Yeah.
individual from a business perspective, if you have a fleet of 10 vehicles, it's much, much more affordable. That's just the vehicle part. Then everything else, I mean, it's a tenth of the cost of an individual buying, me and you buying a vehicle for our business is so much cheaper if you have a medium to large size roofing business. And you can actually do it then. If you
Yeah.
don't have that capital and that size of business and the lead flow, it's just the finances don't make sense at all to have employees.
Do you think it made sense at one point and so that's how they were able to get started? Or do you think those companies started out with subs and then got big enough to
Eh,
justify employees?
I don't know for certain, but I would bet a lot of money they started out with subs. and then they realize that they want to have a better customer experience, better quality control, and those things can happen with employees. They don't necessarily happen, but they can happen with employees, and they want to just be different, and that's fine. But
Yeah,
it's just not something that most people can do.
I've seen it where they'll have a subcontractor do the entire roof replacement, but they'll have employees go run around and do roof repairs. And
Mhm.
so it'll be like, a tree branch lands on the roof and you just need a square replaced. They'll just send a guy to go do that, or just swapping out pipe boots or something like that. But to have a whole crew come up and show up and do the whole replacement, that's a huge, I mean, your operating costs just go through the roof if you have three or four crews, employees, plus everybody else internally running things from an operations standpoint. It's a really hard uh, structure to maintain without making the roofs 4 times as much as they are.
Yeah, it probably 3 to 4 times more expensive.
Yeah,
But you got like all these $15,000 to $20,000 roofs. What is going on? Why am I buying another house to put my roof on?
yeah.
Like
Or a car, yeah.
it's you're just like what's going on? So then you have these entities like that in these markets, and if they don't have a very very strong brand and very just unbelievable reputation, they're going to lose every single job they ever try to send a proposal for. They're just going to be so much they don't people there's a limit to everyone. If you're that much more expensive, if you're 3 times more expensive than the highest person, you're just not going to sell any roofs. And that's just the way it goes.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out because, but I understand the motivation because I think what's happening right now, and the subs I think is maybe a different situation because they're usually working with multiple different companies, so it'd probably be pretty easy for them to show that not one company is a source of 90% of their revenue. But for the sales reps, there's so many 1099 independent contractors that are essentially working full-time jobs, but they're setting their own hours. There's more flexibility and they like that, but they're also taking like making money and then like not paying taxes accurately on it.
Yeah,
There's
that's what
Yeah.
they're
like it's a
doing.
blind eye.
It's a tax
It's a
grab.
absolute tax grab because it's impossible for them to audit that many people, all those little 1099 reps that are making, 100,000, $150,000 a year. It's not worth it to even try to audit. So they can get away with a lot at that level. Those like little independent reps. But yeah, they're thinking like, oh, if it's W-2, then we're guaranteed to get the taxes.
Right.
So, and
But
but
then you got to rely on, us as business owners are, we do our best at record keeping and documenting and data, but then it's like now you're relying on someone else to prove your side that you're not providing 90% or more of their income. So it's like, are they really keeping good records? Or is their wife doing their bookkeeping? Does she even know how to do bookkeeping?
yeah.
Um, from what I've seen, they
Oh no,
it's
no,
hard.
wait,
It's
we
it's
missed
hard.
something. You're touching on a really, really important point. Did you watch the part of the video where I forgot this until you just said this? They're gonna pay 15 to 20%. I think that's the number. I know it's at least 15%. 15 to 20% of the total penalty to a whistleblower. So if you have a competitor, it's on Adams. Go to
Yikes.
Roof Strategist and go in there. So they're incentivizing people to screw other roofing companies. You don't have to be another competitor. You can just be anyone who just says I think that they are using subs. So this can be homeowners, this can be anyone who just files out the form and says, "Hey, they're using subs. I think that they should be W-2 employees." And then it significantly financially incentivizes whistleblowing. So
Mhm.
like there's gonna be a lot of that. Who would not be like, okay, this is a big company. I know they only use subs. Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna make a bunch of money. It's just like ambulance chasers and whatever. They're
Yeah.
gonna do the same thing. There's gonna be so
Yeah,
many
it's
people.
like I heard that woman 3 doors down from me got an abortion, so I want her to go get arrested, and
Yes,
now I
same
want to
thing.
be rewarded for reporting her for breaking the
Yes,
law.
same thing.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
Crazy.
They can do it anonymously, like it's over. They're going to be like tens of thousands of people whistleblowing for roofing
yeah,
companies.
right.
Man.
If they publish that, if they actually market that ability to whistleblow, it's over. Like there's going to be so many people under they will go out of business because of the paperwork. Not that they're doing anything wrong, just the fact that they have to fight these things and prove it.
Yeah,
And they're like for months and months and months with the IRS. Like that's a wild. I forgot
Yeah.
that. I forgot that
Yeah.
that's part of the deal.
That is really
yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty scary.
Let's this is a great thing to talk about. But let's go ahead and move on because we're getting close to the end of the hour. I really would love to hear from you, Brian. It's so cool to me to hear when someone really no past experience with starting or being an entrepreneur and then makes that leap and does it successfully. You're building this amazing business, and that's so impressive. A and B, what I want to ask you is what have been your biggest lessons learned? If somebody else, if you're talking to another roofing owner that's going to start a business, what would you tell them to watch out for, be careful of in that maybe first year in business?
Know your numbers. Like the biggest thing, because without money, what are you going to do? You can't live on credit for very long. I mean, 30 days maybe, but then you're just chasing the next job, robbing Peter to pay Paul or whoever. But know your numbers. Educate yourself. Um, read mathematical formulas. Just try stuff. Like that was the biggest thing I came away with it too was cash flow. Know your numbers. Figure out what you need to multiply your cogs by to walk away and stay in business and keep your promises, like we always say. A lot of guys, I mean, roofing companies are the biggest hunted for private equity because there's so much cash flow. I mean, we write checks for thousands of dollars like almost weekly, and it just comes in, goes out. So that can really be attractive to people who have never had that money before. So they'll do a roof and make 20 grand and they'll be like, all right, I'm going to go buy a truck or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, but you need to keep going. You got to pay for the material for that and then the labor and then to do the next job. So there's a lot of vanity in it, but if you don't know the numbers, you're done for. And there's no guru, there's no podcast, there's nothing that's going to save you from your own greed. You have to be very wary of that. So there's no one coming to follow you around and say, hey, you shouldn't buy that right now. You have to have that discipline. You have to have that control, but you also have to um, be very intentional every day about working towards that. And a lot of people, they just see the shiny new thing and they chase it. And you have to really resist that because you can get so attracted to that stuff and it will distract you from your mission, which is for me, it's freedom, ultimate freedom. Do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whoever I want for as long as I want and not have to worry. I have 4 kids myself. My kid's mother died, and now it's just me and my girlfriend and her 2 kids. So there's 8 of us. And whether my kids take over my company or not, this is how it's going to happen. And I just have to keep pushing and do the right thing every day, set the example, educate myself. Um, but I I would only compare myself to myself yesterday. Like, am I getting better every day? I don't compare someone else's year 20 to my year 1. That's so unrealistic. But I think you just have to pay attention to what's going on and educate yourself, know your numbers, be very disciplined, but stay humble too, because it gets very distracting, all the money. It's not really your money, but it looks like it is.
It's really good. That is really good insights there. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Um, well, this has been really awesome. we will usually wrap up these podcasts with a question. And that question is always, what is the biggest thing you're looking forward to in the coming week?
Shoveling 16 inches of snow.
16 inches of snow, baby.
No, I'm very happy. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to relaxing because I can do that with how my company is and how I've chosen it to run and how I've chosen to structure it. A 16-inch snow day would scare the crap out of a lot of people because they're like, oh my God, I can't get into work or whatever. And that worries people because it threatens their income, it threatens their lifestyle, it threatens that. But for me, I'm at a spot where, okay, I can coast through while that melts off. I'll be fine. So I think I'm looking forward to that feeling because it's been a really long time since I've had that feeling. We talk about emotions a lot when we sell to people, and that's how we really connect with people. But for me, that works kind of in reverse, where it's like, this is a good feeling because I know I'm going to be okay and I can coast through and I'm just going to pick up where I left off the day before it snowed. Be fine.
Love that.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, going back to knowing your numbers, it's like
Yeah,
to be able to have
exactly.
that feeling.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's awesome. John, what are you looking forward to?
Man, that makes me, I know I was joking about my friend Seth has a charter business, has a little boat, and he took us out for a boat ride this morning, and it was totally spontaneous, not planned. I didn't even go to the gym. I have to work out this afternoon. But the same thing you're saying, Brian, is like I'm able to do that. Like tomorrow, no, today's Tuesday. On Thursday, we're doing a roof. It's a really profitable roof. I didn't sell it. Cameron sold it. I actually didn't even know we did. We had it sold. That's the best feeling is building. I'm very excited about the success that Cameron and Clay are going to have this year, and Tisha and Kathleen and the team that we have. It's coming together in the way that I want it to come together, not any way that somebody else told me to. I'm learning principles and continually trying to improve. So I don't know. I've been solopreneur, like selling for a long time by myself. And so I'm excited about taking the risk, rebranding, all the stuff that we're doing every day. Just got a proposal as we've been recording about a new social media person. They're going to be awesome. So yeah, I'm excited. It's March. March is like when we start working. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Love it. So this is the first week in like probably a month and a half that I'm actually going to have time to work on ProLine, the software again. We hired a senior developer last week that is crushing it. So he's built our company cam integration that we just launched. Some little fixes we got to make on that, but he's doing great. So now there's dev happening every day, no matter what, even if I don't get into it. But also, Edward's doing a great job on the side of helping with customer support. And now that moves me into a place where I can now work with that senior developer and we can move even faster on building out new features and improving ProLine and just continuing to level it up. So I'm really excited about that because in the last month or so, I've been completely just overwhelmed and unable to actually make product improvements, which has been frustrating. So it's really fun to get back to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for coming on, Brian. If anyone ever wants to reach out to you, ask you questions or anything, what would be the best way to reach you?
Modroofgroup.com. That's
Boom.
it.
Nice.
I'm right there in the chat. Let's start talking.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you again. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye, everybody.